The last couple episodes, I feel like we've been, I don't want to say rushed, but like
Slightly rushed.
slightly pressed for time, and we haven't had enough like banter. No one's told me this, but I have a hunch that maybe the listeners want more of that.
More banter?
More bant.
We should put a poll in the next episode.
How much banter do you like?
Hello and welcome to Tech About Town, brought to you by Communitech and Elevate IP. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Kinsella.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Sasha Bell.
We're recording this on a Friday in December, but it's going to air in January.
And we are both Friday. We are Friday in December. Our brains have melted. There's too much to do. The to-do lists are too long.
Yeah, because you're listening to this in January and you're probably like fresh and like ready. And we're
Totally
probably like
rested.
We're probably well rested.
Yeah.
And like go get them. But right now,
No.
as this episode is being recorded,
We're in the thick of it.
Not in that mindset.
No.
I'm
We gotta create a lot of Christmas magic for all of our children. We've got the parties. We've got the family gatherings.
So many things.
So many things.
Today's episode, though.
So today in the studio, we have Carleigh Johnson, and who's the program manager for Fast Track Cities at Communitech. And we have Albert Mansour. Did I say that right?
Perfect.
And we have Albert Mansour, the recent winner of the Fast Track Cities showcase. No,
Yes.
The recent winner of the Fast Track Cities showcase that just happened in November 2024. That's where we are in time
Was it
now.
November?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a
Feels
month
like
ago.
last week.
Yeah, I know. That's why I sent the, hey, updates are coming, because I knew that it had been a while and I hadn't caught up with any of you. So
And that took place at KPL,
yeah, the
Kitchener Public Library.
Yeah.
They have a cool, like, sort of subterranean conference-y space.
Yeah, I've never seen a library that has a theater like that.
Yeah,
so
it's very
that was
cool.
really cool, and it was awesome. I've been rewatching some of the footage, and the way that it captured with the lighting and the sound was like the best. So.
It's a hidden gem, that spot.
It is. It's great. Before we dive into Albert's company and his experience as a founder and his experience with Communitech, can you just give us some context, high level?
What is Fast Track Cities?
What is Fast Track Cities?
Why is Fast Track Cities?
Yeah, I love this question. So Fast Track Cities at Communitech is a challenge-based program. So we work with municipal partners, which was the case this time, but can also be industry partners, to establish challenges that they have that tech solutions could solve. So once we establish what those challenges are, we put them out to the tech ecosystem. They apply with their solutions, and then the top companies get selected to then present at the solutions showcase. So this one that just wrapped up in November that we were talking about, we had the most applications to Fast Track that we've ever had and picked our 10 best companies along with those challenge partners. And they, pitched at the Kitchener Public Library.
Who was the challenge partner this time?
So we had City of Kitchener as well as Municipal Innovation Council, which is a group of municipalities in Bruce County.
And what were some of the challenges they were hoping that tech founders across Canada could help them solve? Like, what were their challenge statements?
Yeah, so City of Kitchener, they had two. One was really specific, and that was around sewer inspection. So large trunk sewers have a pretty archaic way of being inspected, which is essentially driving around with trucks, putting CCTV cameras down manholes to then essentially see if there are any infrastructure failures or repairs that need to be done. And then the other challenge that they had was wanting to integrate autonomous technology into their service delivery in the city. So how could they enhance their municipal operations just by using autonomous technology? It was a really vague challenge purposefully so that they could see what was out there in the tech ecosystem. MIC, so the Municipal Innovation Council, they had two challenges as well. One was focused on tourism. So how could technology help them with their tourism influxes in mostly the peninsula, so where they have lots of tourism. And then also another vague challenge where they wanted to use AI for efficiency in municipal operations. So a lot of our municipalities want to know how to incorporate this technology to make things better, and they just don't know how. So they wanted to just see what's out there and what could help them be more efficient.
And so MIC, if they sort of found, are they specific to a location, or are they just like across Ontario, or?
It's a group of 7 municipalities in Bruce County. So they're essentially a collective that have decided that they want to incorporate innovation into their municipal planning and work with the tech ecosystem. And so by being a collective, it gives them more power and ability and capacity to engage with tech.
So efficient.
Yeah.
Okay, Albert, and then you this is where you come in.
I feel like one of those challenges was custom designed for you, it seems like.
Yeah.
Tell us about what challenge when you sought to solve, and more about your business. And
Yeah, one of the challenges asked for infrastructure inspection. So it was a little bit broad and vague. So there was more specific asks, but infrastructure inspection is where we thought we could be a fit. So infrastructure, inspecting infrastructure, but also removing the resource intensity that's required to inspect infrastructure today. So kind of goes hand in hand with that ask for relieving, I think, the resources that are required to execute today. Inspecting infrastructure today, I know that these municipalities are they're challenged with it because we can't keep up with the demand. You can't hire enough people to take on the backlog of work. So our technology, I thought, fit really nicely with that ask for a solution around how to better inspect our infrastructure, how to understand where defects are, and really hone in our efforts on remedial action and repair.
And tell us about ConeLabs, and give us the elevator pitch.
Yeah, ConeLabs is essentially using AI to automate infrastructure inspection. So I'm a structural engineer, graduated University of Waterloo. I've been in construction for most of my career. The latter half of my career, I've been focused on digitization of the built environment. So applying new emerging technologies, not to new construction, but to the existing built world. My co-founder is a computer engineer who introduced me to really the advancements in AI and the capability of AI. We put it together and found a perfect home for this solution where we can automate the resource-intensive task of infrastructure inspection.
Brilliant. It seems custom fit for fast track cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what stood out to me most, not even just in the application that ConeLabs submitted at the sort of first phase before the pitch, but at the pitch, like really emphasizing that this really is technology for safety. Like this saves lives. Mm-hmm. So it's a very mission-driven solution that is really sad to hear about things like bridge collapses, which we know have happened in the recent past. So it's great to see companies out there doing things that are trying to prevent those sort of really unnecessary, I guess, events that happen.
Yeah.
Avoidable events.
Yeah, avoidable.
Absolutely
Yeah, that's
avoidable.
what I was looking for.
When I lived in Seattle, it's you always hear about, California is going to just dissolve into the ocean. It's actually not really California. It's the Pacific Northwest. So there are... if you have a lot of small earthquakes, it's actually a really good thing because it relieves the seismic pressure. But Seattle, Oregon, Vancouver is about 100 years overdue of what they called the big one, which is like a really, really big seismic event. And when I lived there, they actually took down a highway that was like an elevated highway right downtown because it was one of those things where you just, do whatever this is. What is this called?
Sign of the cross.
The sign of the cross. Yeah.
I'm Jewish. I don't know.
I was going to say, I went to Catholic school, so I know what it is. It's also goes this way.
Oh, what did it the wrong way? That makes sense. You say, so when you go on this highway in Seattle, you say a little prayer because you just knew that if you were on it at the wrong time, it would not survive. And they took it down and built a tunnel. But that sort of infrastructure exists all over the West Coast. And it's just not... It was, built 75 years ago. It's just not ready for the next big earthquake.
The first time that we spoke before Fast Track Cities, and when you gave me the pitch, I thought of Alberta. Was it Calgary? Calgary, right? With the
fires?
The
flooding,
water main.
yes.
Well, no, when the water main
It was
broke.
fresh, yeah.
Yeah, right. And that water main was broke, it collapsed onto itself, and it shut down water for
It was a
hundreds
long
of
time.
thousands of people for weeks, right? And you think of that kind of inspection and like we're sitting on 50, 60, 70-year-old infrastructure.
Yeah.
What's interesting about our technology is it's a very technical solution, and you would think only civil engineers would really care for it. But when we speak to anybody, you watch them start to think about something they read or a collapse they just heard about. So it applies to everybody. Everyone can think of that bridge that they cross, that they say a prayer before they cross, or that building that doesn't feel right. With inspection, we can confirm, as a first line of defense, the structural integrity of that. So we don't have to, if we just had sufficient inspection, then there should be no question about the integrity of a building. So that's where we come in, is that, for example, New York City, what do you think the average age of a building is in New York City?
I'm going to say 95 years old.
Very close. It's 90 years, probably about 91, because I think I checked that last year. So
love infrastructure, history, and architecture.
But the New York City Department of Buildings last year came out and simply declared we cannot keep up with the demand of inspection of our buildings.
Yeah.
This time last year, a building in the Bronx collapsed. Everybody went on Google Street View, and everyone pointed out the cracks. There was cracks, and how did they miss it? And we could see it so clearly. It's just we don't have enough resources to keep up with demand. So our technology allows us to do more buildings, eliminate that arduous part of the task, and have these inspections done faster. So as much as we can save money, improve margins, things like that, our first kind of mission is to just keep up with demand.
Yeah.
After that, could companies, charge less? Could they improve their margins? All of that, yes. But let's just first eliminate the 7 structural collapses we see every day. Sorry.
What?
Is it I think it's every day. I forget that stat.
That was definitely in your pitch.
Yeah,
It was 7
I
a day.
should have.
We'll edit it and make it every 7 days.
It's every day. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, this is a podcast, so you can't see the tool, unfortunately. And I've seen the demo of it. Can you just talk a little bit about like that kind of one-to-one replacement? So like today's inspectors go and they take photos and like they review them, but it's spread out over potentially months and years, right? When they identify a crack and go back and check it.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of how it works today. We are working with a customer who they are the engineering firm. They contracted out a drone company to go capture images. And this is actually, this is the train that connects Terminal 1 and Terminal 3 at Pearson.
Okay.
So they inspect it. How they get their data is it's terabytes of images of this structure. They wanted us to put it onto our platform. So because it's so much data, I've actually had to drive to their office, pick up a hard drive, and then upload that hard drive. So imagine that the engineer, the inspector today is going through terabytes of data that we can't even efficiently share amongst ourselves. So the time it would take for that inspection is obviously it's manual and takes a long time. So what our platform does is we ingest that data. So simply images from off-the-shelf drones. We create a 3D model of that asset. So now the inspector has a full 3-dimensional view. They can orbit around it. So that's a photogrammetric model. And then we have AI, which is the most important step. AI then kind of inspects the asset and automatically finds what it's trained to find today, which is cracks, spalls, and rust. Even if the AI doesn't get it all, we've eliminated this massive monotonous part of the inspection task, which allows that inspector to be more efficient, to hone in on areas that kind of look suspicious. But our platform now automates that. And then the next step of our build is to create final reports so that the user will simply upload images and they will get a final report that summarizes the defect, the location, the severity, things like that.
Dang.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
something that I was curious about, because you are consuming so much data, is to what degree can you actually then also do some predictive sort of maintenance? So things that don't need to be fixed right now, but at what point can you say, hey, we know in 5 years' time this needs to be addressed?
Are recommendations sort of built into it?
So we have big plans for adding more value. So things like recommended actions or things like predictive. We also have plans to show non-visible data. So today our AI only shows what's visible, but we can actually use proven calcs to show depths of cracks, and we can also put together a complete remedial action plan. So here are your defects. Here's what you would need to take remedial action. Here are the materials that you need. Here's the exact amount of materials you need, so that we're not purchasing any wasted materials anymore. So our plan does include to show some predictive information too.
Cool. That's awesome.
Just in my head, I'm like, if you took all like video data, drone footage and photos of the gardener and put it into your system, do you think
it would
your
explode?
system would crash? And I hate to say it, but like I don't think it could handle the amount of defects.
The Gardner Expressway is exactly where my brain went first.
Well, here's the thing about the Gardner is, so we've learned something as because we think we've built this technology and it's as simple as, hey, this finds defects, everyone should celebrate. But we're starting to understand the business factor to how this industry works a little bit. So the Gardner right now is shut down. I think originally was 5 years shut down. So we, as a part of being the engineer that inspects and puts a plan together, is you want to almost pile up as many defects as possible so that in one fell swoop you can fix the Gardner, shut it down, and just get it done. So the proactive part of our work is limited, because if you're going to shut down a lane and only address one small problem, and then we're going to have to do it all again later on, there's not much proactive maintenance that takes place on the Gardner. It's more, let's be reactive, but let's also grow that list of tasks as big as possible so that we get it all done, because we know there's an economic impact. So let's just do it all at once.
Yeah, and that's where your like engineer background comes in, is understanding sort of like how these projects are actually tackled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like your car, if you proactively maintain it, then obviously your car, will perform better, and you don't have to wait for catastrophic failures to take action. The reason we don't do proactive maintenance of the Gardner is because we can't shut down the lane every month, every 6 months to inspect it. But if we've now changed the definition of inspection from shutting down the lane or lanes of the highway to simply a drone flying while it's completely operational, then I think we have changed the inspection game entirely. And that's part of our vision, is to say, let's change what we assume an inspection to be, which is mobilization and safety and harnesses and bridge masters and bucket trucks and all of that, to a drone flight, a 1 hour drone flight. So with a 1 hour drone flight, we can be more proactive. We can understand our structures better. We don't have to worry about all those things we would formerly worry about. So part of our vision is to change maybe even the frequency of inspection. Now we don't have to wait once a year. Yeah. We can do it every month, because it's just hiring a quick, getting some drone information. It doesn't have to be the complete asset either. It could be a focus area. So
can I just jump in and quickly say the Gardner Expressway is a raised highway in downtown Toronto, just for those who might not know that. Or maybe they're listening from Calgary. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing about the Gardner is I always challenge folks to, when you're driving along the Gardner, obviously, well, especially if you're under the Gardner, everybody looks around, and myself included, and wonder, like, is this thing safe? But what's interesting is all of the defects that we visibly see have white spray paint around them. So, just as kind of an indication of how manual it is, somebody is out there tracing each issue, somehow trying to quantify that and put it in a remedial action plan But you'll see the white spray paint around each spall and each crack on the gardener.
Now you can't unsee it.
Yeah, you can't. I can't unsee it.
No,
Yeah.
no. Well, what you just talked about was interesting, like kind of changing the process the industry uses today, because a lot of times when you're talking to a startup founder and they're like, I have this solution and it uses AI, and we're going to use AI and we're going to increase the efficiency of this, or we're going to reduce the time this takes. But it's not very often that we hear we also want, like, we need to change that process. And does that, as a startup and as a founder, how is that a challenge, right? Because you're not just trying to say, hey, buy this solution and improve your efficiency. You're trying to say, buy this solution. Also, you have to change the way you do your job because it's not efficient.
I think another benefit of being in the industry. So I'm a structural engineer, and I understand, why we think the way we do, and sometimes the reason we make decisions we make. So construction in general is often looked at as the slowest to adopt technology. If you look at the adoption of technology across industries, construction always lags behind. And it's not because we don't love technology. It's because I will not change the way I do anything unless you overwhelmingly show me that it's better. Because change, or when I am not successful in a change, the consequences are significant. It's not, oh shoot, well, we'll just do it, we'll go back and do it the old way. Consequences include budget, schedule, lives. So we're not changing anything from the old way unless there's overwhelming proof or evidence that this is a better way.
The fact that you said "we" in that statement speaks volumes.
Yeah. This is the cost of failure is very high in construction. It's very high, and as engineers, we've taken an oath to ensure that we stand behind the technical deliverable that we're making. So, part of changing the industry, I think, will take some time. But here's what's really important and cool about the civil engineering world is the door has opened for AI to enter or to make an impact in the industry. So we've also observed this as civil engineers are starting to think about the application of AI in the industry, where it can contribute, how it can improve our materials, how we can reduce waste, things like that. So there's a bit of a perfect storm brewing here, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Man, I think this stuff is so interesting. Mm-hmm. It's like when Corey Bloom was here talking about like the history of demographics and city planning. I was like so locked in. I love this stuff.
Honestly, it's why I love my job, because I get to meet companies like this.
Oh yeah,
learn about their technology, and
talking to founders it's honestly the best. It's so fascinating. Like I've said this so many times, but it's so inspiring to meet someone who's just like, I recognize this massive problem in society, and I just devoted my life to fix it. Like it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most fun I've ever had in my career. So I've worked in big companies and, smaller, big and small companies. I've worked across a broad range of industries and companies, and this is the most fun I've ever had.
So how long have you been, so you're the founder of ConeLabs, and you're the co-founder and the CEO, COO, what's your title? CEO. Okay, great. Big boss over here. So how do you take care of yourself running a big business like this?
There's ups and downs for sure. So I think I've recognized, so for me, the most important is having time with my family every day. Yeah. So I've made that a priority, and we have a baby at home. So she's
tell me everything.
She's about to turn one on Friday. So it's exciting time. So I was a little late to the party, but we have she's amazing. So that for me is where I'm able to decompress and have some time. So spending time with my family is a priority that I try not to let slip. But the team overall, I think I'll say we've been doing this for officially since last August. So August 2023, we incorporated, but we've been tinkering since early spring of 2023. So we've been working on it for a while, but I think what drives me is really, this is the ultimate challenge. Is I can't name any sort of professional challenge you can think of, and it comes into play when you're founding a company. So, you have to think about human resources and finances and sales and kind of business health and all of that. So I thrive off of that. That for me is fun.
It seems like the scale of it could be endless. Like if you think about, everything from India to, Nigeria,
no
like
geography.
everywhere,
Everyone has buildings.
everywhere. Any of these huge cities, right?
Well, but the thing I was going to say too, like you mentioned, sales is something you have to think about as a co-founder of a startup. I couldn't think of the word startup. I don't know why. Sales is something you mentioned as one of the challenges. The conversation around procurement comes up a lot in Canada of getting governments to buy from Canadian software companies. Fast Track Cities seems to kind of deliver that, right? Because you're bringing municipalities or municipal organizations into a room with startups. Like Carleigh, from like your perspective, like how are you seeing that play out, and how does that program kind of help advance that procurement mission?
Yeah, so procurement's a huge challenge. I think inherently, because municipalities or any really public entity, when you're using public dollars, when you're doing procurement, you have to be incredibly responsible about that decision making.
Ideally.
So, yeah, ideally. I mean, theoretically, that's what our local governments are supposed to do. And because of that, they're often very risk adverse. And in their view, smaller companies that have less experience would be considered higher risk. So what Fast Track Cities is trying to do is to open those doors to more innovative solutions that will provide technology that will solve these problems for a long time. So where we often see a shift happen with these partners is trying to have them get out of the procurement mindset and think more about pilot projects. Because if you want a company that's ready to procure and you're expecting them to have this laundry list of previous work in order to be hey, we've proven that we've been able to do this, that means that they're solving an existing problem with an existing solution, which means that it might not actually be solving the future problems, or there's already problems with the way that we do it. So for example, the way that we currently do building inspection, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that are employed to do this work, but not addressing all of the challenges that Albert's already talked about. So to get them into the mindset of let's consider a technology that's a little bit more on the edge, maybe the company's younger, has less experience. This provides that exposure. They get that live Q&A with the companies at the pitch event. They read a lot about the company through the application process, and then they have an opportunity to actually do a pilot project with them that then operates outside of procurement, but it lays the foundation for a potential procurement.
It's like validation.
It's almost like market validation with a client that previously might have not even taken a look at them because they'd be too small, too early. Procurement processes are also super long, can be expensive for the companies to put all the work that requires. So some of our smaller or younger companies also just don't have the capacity in order to actually survive a procurement process. So this is an accelerated version of getting that access to those municipalities and representation.
Just to add something to what Carleigh said. So, investors always ask us, who's your customer?
Right. Everybody.
No, our customers, our focus area is engineering firms and governments.
Yep.
Our initial sales have been focused on engineering firms because they have shorter sales cycles, and we knew governments just take time. And as a startup, we just didn't have the resources to do that. So something like Fast Track Cities opens that door, gets us in front of those very customers that we had planned to go to, but in a format that allows us to overcome, those long sales cycles. So we really do appreciate something like Fast Track Cities to open those doors, because municipalities are absolutely our ICP. We have not focused on, we more kind of passively focus on them at this stage of our growth. But now, we have the opportunity to land and expand and to demonstrate our technology to those customers we had planned on speaking to as well.
I was just going to say, for acronyms, ICP is not Insane Clown Posse.
What is it, Alex?
Assumed. Yeah.
Ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
I knew that because I did a video testimonial interview shoot 2 days ago with the startup boot camp here, and they were using all the acronyms.
You gotta break those. You gotta break them down.
Yeah, I mean, I love asking dumb questions. So
Well, I mean, when I first got hired here, I literally had bookmarked the acronym page that they provide to all new hires because we're just throwing them around everywhere, and I'm like, I have no idea.
I do find like, because I'm not from here originally, but I find Canada loves acronyms.
really, it's an acronym heavy culture.
When I moved here, and I was just like the first job I had here, I'm like, acronyms all over the place. I'm like, I don't know what any of you were taught. Like even like grade 13 is like what's
OAC.
OAC. And like my wife's like we were dating at the time. She's like, oh yeah, do you have OAC? And I'm like,
well, I actually don't know if I could
OAC?
tell you what OAC stood for.
I don't either.
I know what it stands for.
What does it stand for?
Ontario Academic Credit.
So OAC,
But
for
even,
those
like,
who don't know.
aid, but financial aid is like OSIP or something or whatever.
Oh, you mean OHIP?
OSAP.
Oh, you're
OSAP.
talking about OSIP.
I was going to say OHIP.
Oh, but OHIP is another acronym.
OSAP. And I'm like,
OSAP.
but then I went and worked at BlackBerry. Oh, and they loved acronyms. RIM. The whole company was an acronym. It just started like
it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I mean, I came from higher ed, so like I worked at
Same
a
thing.
post-secondary. Absolutely same thing. So I had my own acronym sheet that when I would hire someone new, I would be like, you're going to need this.
At Amazon, there was like an internal Wikipedia, and there was a whole acronym page that was I also bookmarked and constantly.
Because even
looked
our
at.
academic programs, like the university I worked at, you're shorting things to like BBRM, the program BBRM. You're never saying it. It's Bachelor of Bioresource Management. And I'm like, what a mouthful.
Well, we say for fast track cities FTC.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, we do?
Well, here when we're
do.
writing it down. Yeah.
Well, yeah, FTH for the other one.
Yeah.
And
Fast track health.
fast track health.
They
Yes.
they don't have big checks with presentations,
Yeah.
which is great.
That was
Was that
really
your
cool.
first big check?
That was my first big check.
Oh,
Love
yay.
that.
Yeah.
That's a big moment.
I have to
Huge
say,
moment,
I
yeah.
don't want to pick favorites, but I think the two people who run the fast track programs here, which is you, Carleigh Johnson, and Stacey Sobering, are some of the most capable, smart, driven, like give a shit humans
That's
at
so
Communitech.
nice.
Sorry, every other program manager here, but
And this is being recorded, right?
yeah, and it's gonna be it's gonna be aired. I think you guys both do a great job, and you work really well together. I think, which is nice.
Yeah, that's been great, actually. Stacey and I collaborate a lot, not just in our planning, but also trying to figure out like continuous improvement strategies.
Yeah.
So like, what do you do? How do I do it?
Yeah.
Like, how could we do this better? How could we do it together? How can we share resources?
Yeah,
So,
and there's such different industries with such different challenges, but in the same way, such a heavy red tape aspect when you're dealing with municipalities. And then for Stacey's Fast Track Health is dealing with the ultimate red tape, which is healthcare in Canada. So
yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, it's
So
good.
big problems to solve. So
So many challenges.
so many challenges. Well, that's so great, Albert. You're killing it. I can't wait to see where it goes. I find this particular topic very interesting.
So what's next for you?
Yeah, what's
And what do
2025
you, like,
bringing?
if people are listening, what are you looking for? Like in terms of investment, customers, like
So we,
Give Albert money.
yeah, well, the plan is to open our seed round early next year. The exact timing of it is TBD, to be determined. But what is next for us is we just received notice that we are working. So OCI has selected us to do the Blue Water Bridge
Yep.
in
OCI Ontario
Ontario Center of Innovation.
Center of Innovation. Yep.
Yeah.
which used to be OCE,
Oh, geez. Okay.
right? There you
The OVIN team,
Oven,
And that's-
Ontario
Vehicle Innovation
Network.
Network. Yeah.
Got it.
So we were successful in applying for a technology pilot zone at the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia. So this will be a flagship project for us where we will demonstrate our technology, hopefully engage the Michigan Department of Transportation as well, and that will be kind of a crown jewel project for us. So what's next is, the team will be focused on executing that project in the first half of 2025. We will open our seed round when the timing is right. We're looking for sales. So any customers that are in this industry that perform inspection, building science engineers, civil engineers, of course, cities, asset managers, and facility managers, because Yeah, I mean, so customers, and then if investors are interested in learning more about us, to reach out to me, and we can give details on kind of where we're at in terms of fundraising at that time.
Oh my gosh. You're a pro.
Well, I was going to say ConeLabs is like a dream company to participate in Fast Track because Fast Track is an Oven supported program.
Right.
And we actually had someone from that team at OCI actually evaluating applications as well. So getting visibility on companies. And so we really try to work closely with the Oven team at OCI. And so to see one of our companies quote unquote graduate from our program after participating and then be able to move on to an opportunity like this is just a perfect story and such a natural path for someone like ConeLabs. So, yeah.
And Oven is a really great program. I've met a couple founders, and the focus on
safety
and innovation, and it's just fascinating. That's the AWAS was another great company.
Yeah. Automatic window opening system is that acronym. No, they're great. Sabrina, one of the co-founders, absolutely love her. I mean, she and I are still in touch, so she keeps me up to date with what she's got going on, and she got a bunch of press coverage that our team actually hooked her up with as well. Another life-saving technology.
Yes.
So
and until it's integrated in every vehicle sold, go out and buy yourself what are those things called? You keep them in
The window.
the window smasher.
Yeah.
It's like a hammer you smash the window.
Unless your windows are laminated.
And it also cuts, yes, don't laminate your windows. And it also cuts seatbelts. And if this is so off topic, but everyone should know that if your car is submerged in water, you have 30 seconds or 1 minute?
60.
You have 60 seconds to get yourself and everyone out of the car. So the first thing you should do is get out of the car and get everybody out of the car right away.
Yeah. Don't care about your phone.
What else would people do?
They stay in the car and call 911. And it can take 8 minutes to get, is the fastest an emergency vehicle could get to you. Yeah. You got to get out of the car because when the water rises, it'll compress the door in and it'll also freeze the window mechanisms going down. So you just have to, your car is in water, press the windows down right away.
This is really hard hitting for Sasha.
Oh my God. It lives rent free in my mind, this information.
So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, Albert, Carleigh, congrats on all the success of the program and Albert winning Fast Track Cities this year. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wish you all the continued success.
Thank you very much.
And I'll think of you when we're under the gardener.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking for those white outlines.
Yeah,
we'll let you know once we've inspected the gardener, so you guys are good.
That's cool. Well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a great interview. I am so personally fascinated by that stuff.
It was really good, and I'm always fascinated by the tangents we go off on. I assumed we'd talk about rugby.
Yeah, Carleigh Johnson's a big rugby person, but I doubt
I have to include rugby.
No, I was just gonna say, I bet you I'm sure that the rugby conversation will be edited out, or else this will be a really long.
So the
really
problem
long
with
episode.
talking about the edits, it's very fourth wall,
right?
Because in my head.
Oh, people don't know that it's edited.
Well, no, I mean I think everyone knows that it's edited, but they don't know the discussions that go into the editing of they're not privy to the stuff that gets cut out.
Right.
So sometimes, I'm hesitant to talk about things at the end of a podcast, what we're doing right now, because I'm I might cut that out. Where I know, as we were talking, there's something that she said that I'm going to include. But now you don't know, as a listener, the thing I'm talking about. But maybe you'll go back and listen to the episode and be like, oh, I get it now. But anyways, rugby and then acronyms.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about Fast Track Cities, you can go over to communitech.ca. At the top, there's a drop down with programs, and you can slide on over to Fast Track Cities or Fast Track Health and learn more about the next cycle of solutions. Next call for solutions. And you can learn more about the next call for solutions.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
What is
For me?
Communitech?
Oh, yeah. I can tell you about Communitech. It's an innovation hub that supports tech founders in Waterloo region. We help founders start, grow, and succeed, and we have been doing that since 1997. We're located in beautiful downtown Kitchener. Communitech helps tech founders with access to markets, and the fast track programs are a great example of that. Access to capital, talent, and community. If you want to reach out to us or tell us your feelings and thoughts on all the things, come on over to social media at Communitech.
Well, and I should also say Communitech's not the only group that makes this podcast possible.
Oh my gosh,
This podcast is also sponsored by Elevate IP.
Elevate IP?
And I'm going to talk about Elevate IP in a second. I'm going to talk about Elevate IP in a second, but I just need to let everyone know that Communitech, North Forge Technology Exchange, and Invest Ottawa are corporations incorporated under the laws of Ontario and Manitoba and are not agents of the Crown, nor are they agents of SHIELD.
You know what?
Which is a show we don't talk about.
Every time I hear you say that phrase, I actually understand it more and more.
More and more.
Yeah.
So Elevate IP is a program that helps you understand what IP you potentially have, actually secure that IP, protect it, don't neglect it, monetize it, make those ends.
And just
it's a great program.
Yeah, it's a IP resource for any Canadian business.
It's 2025 right now. So Elevate IP program is accepting applications for the upcoming fiscal year, which starts in April. So, get those applications submitted at your earliest convenience. Visit communitech.ca. You can learn more about Elevate IP and all the wonderful things that Sasha talked about. But that's it. So now we're just going to end the podcast and play the music.